Honestly, I'm so excited for this interview and then the live stream right in afterwards, because we themed it as Saturday Night Fever. I have to get in character, the outfit and things. And I have watched Saturday Night Fever a couple of times this week, and I've been listening kind of nonstop to you might have heard it. Yeah. So I'm just ready to move on from 1977. I mean, it was lovely, but still.
A good year.
Oh,
Star Wars. Star Wars came out that year. That's my,
Oh, yes. Look, that makes up almost for the butterfly collars and the really tight polyester pants. I was getting inspired for costumes and hair. I took photos of my TV and sent them to my friend. I'm like, who does that? It's such a weird thing. Instead of just looking for an image on the internet, I'm like, look, this is happening on my wall. It's so, bless her heart. And really sat on the sofa with note cards and took more notes on the movie than I had put into plotting the novel that I'm writing for Nana. I'm like, seriously, no, this is important. The novel,
absolutely no judgment,
right? Like, the novel's going to go where it goes, and we're going to hit that word count. But I need to truly, deeply understand how women wore their hair in 1977.
To get that aesthetic, just nail it.
Just gotta, yeah. So at least I was like, big poofy sleeves, sequin, not sequins, lame and glitter and stuff. So yeah. Awesome. So I see people coming in. We've got AutoCrit team members in both Facebook group and on YouTube to help people locate the stream. We made a post and pinned it in Facebook, so fingers crossed that's working. And YouTube as well. So if you're out there in our Facebook group, NaNoWriMo with AutoCrit, or if you're watching us a live stream to YouTube on the AutoCrit channel, give me a little shout in the comments and let me know you're here. Say hi to Cass.
Hi.
Oh, this is so exciting. Does your necklace say something? I can't see.
No, it's wolves. It's
of course it is.
It's actually, I got it from Defenders of Wildlife, the conservation group, a few years ago. I forget how long ago, but so it's helping wolf puppies, this necklace.
I love that. I would help a wolf puppy for that, even as a cat person. Now, if they had a cat one, I would definitely take my money. Take my money. Hey, Jessica, we've got people streaming in. That's fantastic. Awesome. We'll give people another minute or so to come on in, get connected, find the stream. Yeah. There go all my sticky notes. It's okay, they weren't about my book anyway. Just do a little for the Saturday Night Fever coming up. Yeah. Cass, you should totally stay and write with us.
I totally will. I will also be making dinner at the same time, I think. I'll tune in while I'm cooking.
I know, right? It's so hey, Pennsylvania. We typically have pretty broad representation, like not just nationwide, but worldwide. I hope Herb's able to make it. It's a little late for him in South Africa, but we'll see. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I think
that's a ways away.
Joburg. It's like 6-8 hours away, or time difference. It's hard to say. Well, it is 5 after, so let's go ahead and get started. We are live streaming, and both of our destinations will be recording this. So if anybody missed it or time to rock and roll, there's no rock and roll. Time to disco, Celissa. You know that. I did my best. We'll get there. So before we start our shenanigans with the write-in, which, by the way, has moved to Zoom, so check the Facebook group for the link on that, or you can participate in the stream on YouTube for that as well. Facebook videos just been giving us lots and lots of weird confusion and hiccups and kerfuffle. So we're going to do the write-in on Zoom. Also, we want to see your costumes. So it's really more about that than anything else. Tonight, though, huge deal. I am so excited. Cass Morris is here with us. She is the author of this gorgeous book, From Unseen Fire. So I am so excited. Cass, so this is fantasy, but it's got a bit of a historic bent to it. So I'll let you talk about that in a second. But first, I must know if anybody read kind of the mini bio that we put in. I know, right? The little mini bio that we put in for Cass. I need to know, can you back up all that smack talk about Mario Kart? Because seriously, like, we've got some gamers on the team and out there in the audience, and they're like, I want a piece of, like, let's do it. Should we move to Twitch? Do you have a Twitch? Follow like Mario Kart on Twitch by Cass Morse, fantasy author? I think that would be kind of a big deal.
That would be amazing. I haven't yet figured out how to make my Switch, which is where I play on these days, talk to Twitch. But if I ever figure that out, I will totally set up that channel.
Oh my God.
Yes, I can broadly back up my smack talk. I'm not a huge video gamer in general, but the couple things I pick, I get freakishly good at. And Mario Kart is something I've done for stress relief for a really long time. It's often how I like switch my brain from day job brain to writing brain. Is like, okay, I'm gonna take a break, I'm gonna play some games, and then I'll be in a different mode. But
that's amazing. And like, do you find yourself when you're driving an actual car, if only I could throw a banana peel out the back at this guy, like I would have.
I had a red shell that I could nail somebody with.
Turtle shell, come on.
I do think that.
Car should be equipped with that for sure. So you mentioned a day job. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got into writing? Is it always something you've wanted to do? What is your day job? We'd love to know about you.
I have always been a storyteller my whole life. I'm pretty sure my parents knew I was going to be doing this way earlier than I did. You know, all kids are storytellers and all kids are creative, but I have always been extra. I was like 4 years old when I was composing a sequel to The Last Unicorn and forcing my cousins to act it out with me. Like, that was my vibe as a preschooler. I started really taking it seriously. Well, I decided I wanted to be a novelist when I was 11, after seeing Star Wars in theaters for the first time during the 97 re-release. And I just remember so clearly sitting in that theater and just overawed. And for some reason, I sort of toyed around the next few years with maybe working in movies, but what I really wanted to do was make worlds like that, big, expansive worlds that like anybody could see themselves inside, and you could imagine what goes on, you know, on this other world and how it plays into the greater galaxy. And just, I was fascinated by the bigness of that story. And it's what made me want to tell my own stories like that. So since I was 11, I've known I wanted to be a novelist. I went to William & Mary in Virginia for undergrad and focused on English and history, which were good choices.
Which is perfect.
And then it shows in the book that I was like, oh, this girl took too many history classes. And then I went to grad school in Stanton, Virginia for Shakespeare studies. And I spent the first large chunk of my adult life working in a Shakespeare theater there at the American Shakespeare Center in their education department, which was so much fun. But during that time, I sort of was doing so much academic writing and so much instructive writing that I was not fiction writing. And I had to find that back again. And that happened through NaNo. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that. Right now, my day job is I'm in community college in Richmond, Virginia. And while I'm not in it right now, I'm teaching everything on Zoom, which is a whole experience. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
But it's so much fun. I love helping people find their own narratives and their own ways to shape, you know, whether you're writing something technical or personal, your voice matters. And I like helping people figure out how to make it stronger.
That is amazing. I love that you do that. And I can tell as I'm reading from Unseen Fire, the history, the Shakespeare, I see it now. It's like, oh, I see some of those patterns. But I love the worlds that you're creating here. I can immerse myself in with the hills and where people live. And is it Avon? That's how I'm saying it in my head when I'm
Avon is how I say it. But here's the thing.
I'm gonna
Think
keep
in
saying
your head however makes sense to you. It's your book now.
it is.
It's yours. It's
So that's now it's locked in. Avon or Avon, if you're fancy. But this is the first book in the series. Now, this started as a Nano project, right? And
did.
the second one is coming out this December. Wait, that's
Yeah, that was
December.
6 weeks. Yeah, December 29th.
Oh my gosh. So congratulations. Is it as like substantial? This is a substantial book. This is work. This is a body of work, and I love it. So I can get immersed in this, and if I time it right, just flow straight into Giveaway Tonight, which is the next book, and never have to emerge from Oven at all, which would be fantastic.
That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, it really does. So tell me, how did Nano kind of shape this book and shape your work and get you back on the path of creative writing?
Yeah, Nano was absolutely critical to that. I had been doing Nano since 2001 when I was in high school. Was actually the first time I did it. And the only years I missed were 2006 when I was in college and I was directing Romeo and Juliet, and there was just not enough space in my life for both things. And 2009 when I was writing my master's thesis, and there was not space in my life for both things.
No.
But every other year I've at least attempted it. I would say I've probably failed at least as often as I've won with the 50,000. But 2010s had not gone well. As I said, I wasn't doing a lot of creative writing. I was so focused on academia, but I still thought of myself as someone who wanted to be a novelist. And it's like, oh, well, if I want to do that, you have to write a book. That has to be a component of the process.
Now, let me understand what you're saying.
Yes.
In order to be a novelist, you have to write some sort of novel.
Right. A novel. I know it's really irritating, but you do. Yeah. So I used Nano 2011 to sort of launch myself back into it, just full body in.
Yeah.
And it worked. And that was where this book started, was the 50K I got out of that month of just giving myself that permission to spend time in a fictional world again.
Oh, now plotter or pantser?
So I think of myself as a planter, not even like planter. I have a whole metaphor which will shock, I'm sure, no one, that the writer has metaphors for things. No. What I think of is that I have like a bunch of seeds, and those are, I start with the characters I think I'm going to start with, and some plot elements, some vague things, and then I've got a nice garden of good soil, which is my world building is my good soil.
Yes.
And so I put my seeds in my soil, and I see what happens. And sometimes it's what I expected. And sometimes it's a strange mutant fern that I'm not sure what to do with, but maybe I need that. Sometimes it's a rose bush that goes absolutely wild and I have to do a lot of pruning. And sometimes the seed I thought was going to grow doesn't. It just doesn't come up. And all of those things are okay. For me, it's part of my process. Just sort of, I'm very organic in how I write. I love to just sort of follow paths around and see what I end up with. It means I have to do a lot of editing. It's a messy way of writing, but y'all are into it. So
the whole idea of Nano is a messy way of writing, but that is so powerful because the words got to get out of your head. And if you need to like just buckle down, and what we've been doing with our AutoCrit group is sprints, write-ins, 1,000 words in 30 minutes, 100 words in 5 minutes, like just get it going. Because otherwise, there's the first step is getting those words out of your head. So I love that. And I really love the idea of really knowing your world very well, creating that world, knowing your characters really well, because they're going to exist in that world. And the characters are what drives the story forward. Otherwise, they're just standing in the world. And that's, I don't want to be a judgmental person, but it's probably not a really good book. Just somebody standing.
No, and that's always the part that I have to get myself over in a hurdle, because my tendency is just to have characters wander around and have conversations with each other. And it's like, okay, Morris, plot. At some point, events have to transpire.
Yes. Like, what's the conflict? Well, I don't know. Why they're just friends. I don't know.
I'm
Yeah.
still finding that out. I have to let them talk before I know why they hate each other.
I trust that the characters will tell me at some point. Now they're on a clock. In Nano, they're on a clock, right? So you come on, Steve and Katie. Like, we got to know what's going on here.
Yeah. Move.
Poking them with the stick, right? Asking them those tough questions, having those conversations with them. I love it. That's so accurate. So 2011 Nano, is that right? Was when you did From Unseen Fire, but it wasn't published until 2018. Is that right? So what? I've heard of letting a novel rest. And you mentioned you do a lot of editing, which I love, of course, AutoCrit. We all love editing. But tell me a little bit about what happened in those interim years between your pile of words from Nano and this gorgeous book that I have in my hand.
It was a long run. And I will put this out there that if you're going towards publication, everyone's journey looks different. Eyes on your own page, because there's always someone moving faster than you, but there's always also someone behind you in the line, and everyone gets in each other's heads. And whether you're going traditional or self-publishing or hybrid, it's going to look like a different journey. What mine looked like for going traditional publishing, because I knew I wanted that kind of team with me. I knew I did not have the emotional or financial capabilities to sort of launch myself self-publishing. So I thought about it, and I made the choice that was right for me. I know many people who've made other choices, hybrid choices, one or the other. It's all great. For me, what I did was I spent about the next 6 months finishing the book, getting the rest of the draft done. I think I used a camp Nano. I think it was April that year in 2012 that really got me across the finish line.
Perfect.
and then I edited it a little bit. And then in the summer of 2012, I actually went to a Harry Potter convention. And and there were agents there who were accepting pitches. Like, you could sign up for a pitch session with an agent. It was really neat. And I went, even though I was pretty sure neither of them was going to be willing to sign me, because they were working in YA and this is an adult novel. But I figured it would be a good experience, and it was. It was great. They both were so generous and talked to me both about the project and about structuring a query letter and how to approach agents.
Oh, great.
And then from that conversation, I realized that the book wasn't ready yet. It was not yet ready to be put out. So I spent about another 6 months polishing it some more. And then in 2013, started querying agents. And it took 31 tries and 10 months to get someone. And that is probably that's not fast, but it's not. I've definitely heard longer too. I've heard some people have taken 100 query letters out. Once again, everyone's path is going to be a little different. It only takes one yes is the great thing.
Right.
And when it's right, it's right. And I found my agent, Connor Goldsmith, through Twitter, actually through the hashtag MSWL, manuscript wish list. Have you ever seen that one?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. A few times a year. And it's sort of spontaneous. I'm not sure how often. It's sometimes a couple times a year, sometimes it's quarterly-ish. But a bunch of agents and editors will post things that they're looking for. They'll have a day where they're just like, man, I really wish that something like this would fall on my desk. And sometimes it's very broad, like I would like more romances. Or sometimes it's incredibly specific, like I'm really jonesing for Sumerian political fantasy or something. And Connor had said he was looking for historical political fantasy with strong female characters. I was like, have I got something for you?
At me next time, Connor. Yeah.
So I sent him a query letter, and it was amazing because he responded very swiftly. Because what I did not know is that Connor also has a history as a classicist. He also has done a lot of Greco-Roman studies.
Wow.
So it was just a match made in heaven. We signed October 2013. Connor is an editorial agent. He likes doing that work. So he and I did some edits before we went out on sub to editors. We did a few submissions. We were getting some nice feedback, but no bites. So we did some more editing. And then eventually it was 2015 when I signed with DAW Books in a 3-book deal. And it was really funny because I, by that point, was pretty sure we were shelving the project. And I was like making my peace with that. And I was writing other things to give Connor something else to shop. But I had sort of made my peace with putting the Oven Cycle on the back burner. And then he calls me, and I thought we were just having a normal call. And he says, oh, okay, so by the way, I sold your book to Daw in a 3-book deal. And I was like, sorry, I'm gonna need you to repeat that.
Were you going through a tunnel? Can you just, hello? Yeah.
It was fantastic. And so that began that process. In traditional publishing, length of time from signing with a publisher to being on shelves can be anywhere from 6 months is probably about as fast as I've ever seen people do it, just because you're going through edits and there's print time and things like that. 2, my end of the scale ended up being 2.5 years. And the reason for that was I was working with the editor who acquired me. And about a year into the process, she left for another publishing house, which happens in the publishing world. People move around. But it meant I started over again, sort of with a new editor. And Betsy Wollheim is magnificent, and she's a busy lady. So it just sort of, the whole timeline stretched out a little bit. My pub date got changed a couple of times, which was nerve-wracking, but it happens. It happens to every author at some point or other. And learning to be okay with that has been a process, but I'm getting there. There's part of the business.
Uncertainty. Yeah. It's difficult, and it is, taxing, let's say, emotionally taxing, because you've already been on this amazing journey and you've built these worlds, these rich characters, and you've edited until your fingers fall off. And then now it's just one more delay after another. But I love that advice of, really working hard to get comfortable with it. Yeah. That's tips on that. Just sit with it, meditate, shop.
You really just have to figure out how not to take it personal. It's just the nature of the business, and it happens. Said, I'm not the only author in the world it's happened to. It's not because someone hates me. It's just how things go. I know that intellectually. Sometimes knowing it emotionally takes a little longer.
A lot. Yes, it is, especially when you've labored so much on a magnificent work, and people are like, even as gentle a no as this isn't for me at this time, you're like, oh, it's hard not to, but it really isn't personal, and it doesn't mean that your work isn't tremendous. It's just not the right thing at the right time. It's all a part of building that, what we call that thick skin, which is so difficult. But your note earlier, your comment earlier, that it only takes one yes. Yeah. That yes is out there for a lot of people. So just keep with it, and it doesn't have to be the right fit for everybody all the time. Yep. And that's okay, because I don't think anything in the world qualifies for that. Not books, not ice cream, not anything. So that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about kind of the story behind Oven Cycle. So this is book 1. You mentioned it's a 3-book deal. The next book is out next month, 6 weeks from now. I cannot believe it. So how did you come to know that this is a story? Did you start with the world, start with the characters?
The kernel sort of came to me in 2 bits. I knew I was wanting to write fantasy because I love fantasy. I knew I wanted to write not medieval Europe, just because it's I'm not gonna say it's been done. There are still things to explore there, but I wanted to do something a little different. So I was thinking about different things I knew about and where my different strengths were. And I took Latin for a long time. I've done a lot of classical studies, so I had sort of that grounding. Nice. And then I was sort of just looking through, I was probably scrolling through on Tumblr, honestly, and I saw a painting that it's Lawrence Alma Tadema's The Baths of Caracalla. And it's lovely neoclassical work in the Roman baths, and there's people, playing in the background, and there's lots of nudity going on because Roman baths.
Because Roman baths.
Yeah. In the foreground, there are these 3 women reclining on a bench. And one of them is very I've got something exciting to tell you. And one of them is like, do you? Are you sure? Is this? And one of them is sort of scandalized, but also intrigued. And that was the Vitelli sisters, who are the heroines of From Unseen Fire. That was when they popped into my head, was just seeing that painting. And so that's where I started from, was the idea of a Roman world with some magic and these three women who had arrived in my brain. And I built out from there. Yeah.
I genuinely got goosebumps with that story. I can't wait to see this painting, because as you described the three women, I can see them. I was like, oh, I know her. That inspiration just striking once you see anything, a painting, a dog on the street. Like, inspiration can come from anywhere. And the fact that it spoke so clearly to you, it just gives me chills. I love that story so much. Is there a different painting that's inspiring the next book?
No, not something as direct as that.
That's really the core.
What sort of got me going on book 2, it's a continuation of the story. I'm exploring a different side of the magic that we're going to get into. Things escalate in the, I don't know how far you're into it, and I don't want to spoil you book 1, but things in the various places escalate. And I will say, I can safely say this, that the fracture magic becomes a major focal point in book 2. And part of what really drove my exploration of that is looking at Latona, who's my main character, who is a mage of spirit and fire. It's an elemental system that ties to the Roman pantheon, which was a lot of fun to build.
Oh, yeah, really I bet.
And she has someone in her social circle. They are not friends. In fact, Vibia is very uneasy about Latona and her family, and there's a political situation involved, and there's personal situations involved between their families, but they end up having to work together for a common purpose, even though they are polar opposite personalities.
I love that.
But I had so much fun exploring their dynamic in book 2. I loved that.
The fact that
sort of friendship building, yeah.
Oh, the fact that you can take two polar opposite characters and then, as the author, put them in those situations where I know you guys hate one another, but you're going to have to make it work because the world depends on you getting along, or your powers together are stronger than individually. So just being able to take your characters that you know so well, and we love that aspect of really getting to know your characters, because then in any situation you put them in, you know how they'll behave. You know their likes, dislikes, their political attitudes, their whatever, all encompassing of their personality. So regardless if you put them in a garden or in the street or in a city or on a mountain, you know how they're going to react or survive or not, as the case may be. And that type of depth really shows through in these books. So you wrote this in NaNo, and mentioned that that was kind of the impetus of getting you back into fiction and creative writing rather than focusing on academia. Was it kind of that time-bound situation? Was it the goal focus? I love earning some badges and stickers, so let's
Me
go.
too.
See?
I am highly graphically motivated. I love the progress bar and seeing where I can get above the par line. I've actually started using writing trackers in my bullet journal as well. So even during non-nano months, I've got a little bit of that. I structure it differently because it's not to a goal, but it's sort of like by day, how much am I getting? But I love getting the badges. I have always loved the communal experience of NaNo.
Yeah.
Whether or not I'm deep in the forums, which some years I am, some years I'm not, just depending on how much time I've got going on in my life. But I love the idea of so many people pulling together and in the same boat and rowing our little arms off in that boat. I love that sense of it. I love being able to feel part of something. And this year especially, it's just, it's so good to feel, just part of something. And I'm graphically motivated. I also really love the word sprints. I follow the Twitter NaNo word sprints.
Yes, yes.
Highly motivating. I mean, if I
Yes.
can really lock in to a couple of hours of that, and really focus, turn off all other things, put on my writing soundtrack, and really just go with those sprints. I use my little Forest app on my phone to make sure I'm not playing games. Once again, graphically motivated. The Forest app, if anyone doesn't know about this one, it's a time management app where you set a timer and you grow a little tree, as long as you don't navigate out of the app. And yes, if you navigate out of the app, the tree dies. And I anthropomorphize things. So it's really good motivation for me not to mess with my phone.
Yes.
And then you earn coins and you can get different kinds of trees and you grow this whole forest, and it's great motivation for me.
Oh,
just
whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. I was going to mention the word sprints that you follow on Twitter. We've been pulling some of their prompts for our write-ins, and they are phenomenal. I love their flexibility, right? A single prompt. That's why I love writing prompts in general, but a single prompt can be taken in so many different directions. If you aren't following that on Twitter, guys in the audience, people in the audience, I will grab that link and post it in our Facebook group because it's so helpful. And I think definitely during NaNo, but perhaps all year long, with knowing the NaNoWriMo organization, they may do this a lot more frequently, but they run these little sprints all basically 24 hours a day.
Yeah, there's some off hours, but it's for all time zones. They have them in what's the middle of the night for me. They have them in early morning. I know they do them during camps. I don't think they staff the account all year round, but during NaNo and during the camps.
During NaNo and during the camps covers a good part of the year.
A good chunk of the year, yeah.
Yeah. Then you've got to rest your work and edit, our favorite. So, but I'll make sure I put that. I'll make sure I put that Twitter account link in our group. And Jessica would love to know, what was the name of the app with the tree? Is it just the Forest app? Forest. All right. We're going to grow some trees. It sounds like very graphically. I also have never heard that phrase, graphically motivated. As soon as you said it, same, graphically or donuts. Yeah, the graphics are better for me. So, finding out what motivates you and pursuing that and building in that self-motivation, really. It came from outside through the Forest app, but you gave it to yourself. It's not someone kind of saying, you must do this. What other tips do you have for our group? We have long-term nanoers. We have people who've never done NaNo until this year. So what are your, say, top 3 tips?
Oh gosh, I should number them.
We're authors. You can make them ABC.
Yeah, that would make me blurrier than that. So one of the biggest things I do when I'm having trouble getting going, if I'm stuck in a place, I try taking a scene from a different point of view. And as you know, reading from Unseen Fire, I'm a multi POV writer. My book has lots of different perspectives in it. But I think you can do this even if you are writing something that is a first-person singular point of view, just because it can give you an outside look on what's happening to your character. Just as an exercise, really, to sort of get yourself moving. For me, what I often find out when I try that is that the reason the scene wasn't working was because I was trying to write it from inside the wrong character's head. I need to shift perspective. This scene needs to be Vivia, not Latona, for whatever reason. I tend to find that out a lot when I've hit that particular jam and can't get a scene going. It's like, oh, I'm in the wrong head. I need to bounce over to somebody different. So that's a big one that I do a lot, is shift the point of view. Try it from a different character's perspective. Similarly, but not exactly the same, I'm a wildly asynchronous writer. I'm constitutionally incapable of starting at the beginning and just writing my way through to the end. Cannot do it.
I am so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. I zero capability for that for me.
Nope. It's why I write in Scrivener, and that's so helpful because I can move things around, open a new one. It's like, okay, it's fine. I'll figure out where that goes later. But jumping around helps me, being able to jump to another point. And sometimes it's even something that I don't think will end up being in the book. It might be a scene that took place years before my plot line starts. But writing it can give me a perspective on what is happening in the present moment. And it's like, okay, maybe there's something there I need to figure out how to pull in. It might not be a flashback sequence, but it might be something motivating a character that can then get my gears going within what I think the plot line of the book will actually be again.
So maybe
writing,
maybe it's something that shaped who your character is today, but isn't so directly necessary for the story. So you explored it. It may not make the final novel, but it gave you really strong insight into the attitudes and characteristics of your character. Oh, great tip.
And then I have to have a third. Okay. A third strategy I use sometimes is writing what we used to call in the fandom world drabbles of 100 words exactly. And my favorite format is a 10 by 100, which I will usually do. It sort of ties into the looking back into a character's life. 10 key moments. And they might be 10 key moments within my plot that I know I'm going to need to connect the dots between, or it might be 10 moments in the background of a character, just to sort of get an idea of who they are. I do these a lot when I'm trying to figure out a character for the first time. If they haven't sprung fully formed into my head the way the Vitelli I did, sometimes I have to learn them. Sometimes I have to figure out where they came from and where they're going. And so the 10 by 100 challenge focuses my attention really specifically. It's not as great for nano word generation because you're keeping yourself to 100 words per scene, but for understanding the characters, that's an exercise that I will often do with myself.
And what was the name of that exercise?
It's called a drabble, DRABBLE. That's my fan fiction background coming out. And that's how I learned to write, man. I came up through the fanfic trenches. Absolutely. 10,000% how I learned to write. But so that's 100 words. And then, like I said, I like doing a 10 by 100 to get sort of the spectrum.
That is magnificent. As a novelist, how difficult do you find? I'm not going to say, do you find it difficult, because I feel so confident the answer is yes. How difficult is it to limit yourself to 100 words? That just seems...
It's hard sometimes, yeah. I have an ongoing project on my Patreon as well, where I'm doing the Mages of Aven one at a time and giving each one of them 100 words each. And often I end up with like 100, it's usually like 120 is where I get on a first cut of it. And it's like, okay, where do I want to tweak? Where do I want to fix things? And that's actually great editing practice, not for during nano time, but looking at tightening your language, getting rid of filler words, getting rid of the buffer words, having to figure that out. Like, okay, what's fluff here that I don't need? Where can I trim things out? It's really good editing practice that way.
Oh, I love that. And I am going to do some research on this, because we run monthly kind of writing challenges or editing challenges inside our traditional AutoCrit author community on Facebook. We've been doing a community writing exercise called Destination Unknown, where we give you the opening sentence, you must use it, a twist on week 2, and we're maybe a little bit cruel, depending on your perspective. And then in week 3, we give you the closing sentence that you also must use. And it often is wildly different than the opening sentence. So you've got 3 kind of points on your map in that Destination Unknown. And then you finish your story in week 4, and everybody posts it in the community and we kind of share it.
How fun.
I love the idea of these 100-word challenges for a character or a scene or whatever. So maybe that'll be something else that we work in. That sounds really fun. And the editing portion of that is also, oh, look, your assistant is here.
Yep, my assistant here.
Mine is just apparently clocked out for the day. Hi, bud.
This is Ptolemy.
Oh,
he's amazing.
I love him. Well, my assistant usually appears just about mid live stream. So I'm so surprised she's not here yet. Oh, these are tremendous tips. Thoughts on if people are falling behind their word count? And I'm just going to be honest. People are me. It's me. It can be a little demotivating, as graphically motivated as we are, like to look at that ideal line and see my actual line. You know, I'm making a roller coaster with my daily word counts, or I'm just below my ideal trend line. Nuggets of inspiration. Just sit your butt down and do it.
See, my big advice is be kind to yourself. You will write more and better words when you are nice to yourself than when you're beating yourself up.
So true. It's
when it comes to overcoming those like blocks, I tend to ask myself one of two questions if I'm just avoiding writing. I don't really believe in writer's block as a concept. I think it's like the Fae. If you name it, you give it power. So I don't think of it like that. But I ask myself one of two things. First of all, is the problem with me or with the story? That's the big sort of overarching question. If the problem is with me, if there's something going on in my life or in work, I'm just really stressed out, then writing is not what I need to be doing right now. And that's okay. I need to give myself the mental space to take care of whatever needs taken care of. And then I'll come back when I'm refreshed. And sometimes you have to take that time for other artistic things, to read, to watch a movie, to listen to some music, refill that creative tank. You can't run on empty forever.
You can't pour from an empty pitcher.
And then if the problem is the plot, if it's like, okay, I'm fine, why is it still not working? Then that means there's something wrong with the story, and I have to figure out what that is. Am I trying to jam a character into a situation that doesn't make sense for them? Am I making them go against their inclination? Am I trying to force something because I think it'd be cool, but it actually doesn't suit the plot line? That happens now and then. What am I trying to force that just doesn't want to happen? And why doesn't it want to happen? And usually when I start interrogating that, I loosen the flow, and it can come out again, and the words will come back to me. But those are sort of the two things I look at when I'm getting stuck. But if you're getting behind, like I said, be kind to yourself. Remember that any word you write is a word that didn't exist before. So if you don't hit 50,000, that's okay. That's fine. You've still done more words than you would have otherwise. And like I said, I've been doing Nano for almost 20 years. It's probably a 50-50 split. I haven't actually done the math on it, and my account changed halfway through, so I don't have my first 10 years worth of data in the website. But it's probably half and half. And that's okay. Some months you're just not going to hit that mark, and that's allowed. You're allowed to only do 15,000 in a month. That's still 15,000 words. That's
the phrase that I just had to write that down. Any word you write is a word that didn't exist before. Yep. You're still creating. You're still bringing your vision out and getting it out on paper. So true. And being kind to yourself and not forcing it. You know, there are schools of thought that say, sit your butt down and start writing anything. Write a grocery list, right? Just write. And it will start to flow. And in some cases that works really well. Sometimes
and there are some days when I have to do that. Like if there's not an actual real life excuse, which is why I don't want to focus. Some days it is just sit your butt down, but I have to be able to know the difference and ask myself that question and allow there to be days when that isn't the solution.
Right. Sometimes motivation follows action, and sometimes you're trying to force your character into something that's just not true to them, and they're pushing back on you. And we teach a couple of writing courses through AutoCrit, and that's something that we focus on each time. Just because you think a plot point is going to be cool, if it doesn't align with your character's value system or personality or situation, your readers are going to hate it if you try to force something in there.
Or if it's just not, the right plot beat at this point in time. There is a sequence that I took out of From Unseen Fire that I am currently now reworking into book 3.
Ooh.
It didn't fit early on in the revisions I was doing. It was a 20,000 word chunk that I had to take out completely.
Wow.
Because some changes I'd made elsewhere just made it wasn't the right pacing. It was not the right time for it yet. Had to get rid of it. But I never actually delete anything. It just all goes into, shunted over folders. And so in book 3, I'm having to rework it. It's different than it was the first time I wrote it. But I think I found now where that scene does need to live.
Ooh, that is great advice as well. Don't delete things. If you wrote it, if it's not the right place in your current book, put it in a file. Even if you have, and we love to recommend this for things like a character that comes to you, a scene, a world, a conflict situation, whatever it is, write it down somewhere, put it in a physical file, put it in a file on your computer, because when you are looking for your next project, or when you are just wanting to write something a little different than the millions and millions of words that you've written in your current novel, and you're just tired of it and like need a break, grab something from your backlog file. Well, backlog is software development background, but grab something from your files and let that be a seed of even a short story. We've had a couple authors recently mention that they started writing short stories at this maybe around the March timeframe, and they're already getting submissions like accepted and getting paid. I'm like, they're like, wow, maybe short stories are for me. Just that amazing, and you just never know until you try. That is wonderful. Also, that brings me to the book that's coming out in December. It sounds like you're already working on book 3 of your 3-book deal. So thoughts on how's that? Will it jinx you if I ask you how it's going? Because I don't want to do that. So I'm
doing pretty well right now. I think probably about halfway through drafting it. I'm using Nano too. I am Nano rebelling a little bit. I didn't start with a clean project, but I'm about halfway through the manuscript, I think, and I am trying to get it drafted before book 2 is out, just for my own mental health. I know that will be good if I can have at least a full draft done before launching book 2. So yeah, I think I have a solid idea of where it needs to go. There are a lot of holes that need to be tied together, but I feel pretty solid about this one. So that's good. And then I've got other projects on the back burner, though. I'll take off once I give book 3 to my editor. That's when I pick up another project, because I know it'll take her a while to get back to me. And it's like, good, great. I can just put that away and start on something else to finish something up and give my agent something else to play with. So I've got a few in that line as well.
Absolutely. Now, will book 3 bring the oven cycle to a close?
That is all I'm contracted for right now.
Okay.
It will end an arc, certainly.
That is the
best. Many millions of people suddenly bought these books and wanted more, I certainly know where I could continue the story. Because I'm a historian, because I think in terms of, the span of history, it's like, I know where this arc ends. I know how it's going to satisfyingly, I hope, wrap up for the characters. But life goes on. History goes on. The nation goes on. And so I have ideas about, if anyone wanted them, if anyone wanted me to do it.
Just hypothetical thing. If that became a thing, I can see by your comments that you've definitely got some fans out there. So the numbers are growing already to hit that. What did you say? Like millions of people? Yeah, we're out here. So get ready. And I will say that in addition to all the digital badging that you will win throughout Nano, I'm still working on my 7-day streak, but whatever, it's fine. I, by the way, purposely planned 7 write-ins for AutoCrit in a row that I would host to make sure that I earn the badge.
That's clever.
Yeah. I asked some of the group, like, hey, how many of you already have your 7-day badge? And they're like, I need it. So, Cass, I can offer you. I know. I have stickers. I have a little magnet. I know. So, I will get you an AutoCrit care package to keep you motivated throughout the rest of Nano as a partial thanks for helping keep our group as motivated to hit that word count, be ready to work with a publisher, an agent. Oh, it's there. There's no limit to really what can happen from here.
Yeah, it's each step in the process has its own challenges, certainly. And I've seen many other authors, who are well established further into their careers than I am, say the same thing. Each book is a new process. There's always stuff to learn. There's always things to improve. I hope I never stop learning things, figuring out how to do stuff in different ways. But it's been a wild journey so far. I'm really happy to be on it, and yeah, and I love talking to other writers. I'm on Twitter. I'm very online, which is why I have to have the app to make me not be. So I love talking to people online. So I'm at Cass R. Morris on Twitter if anyone wants to find me there.
Fantastic. We will include your socials in our next email. If we didn't do that already, we'll make sure we include that so people can find you and they can follow along, and they can be among the first. We can all be among the first to know by following on Twitter when the next book hits the shelf. What date? Do you have a date? Has it changed today?
No.
Okay.
No, not for book 3 yet. Book giveaway tonight is December 29th, and then book 3 will be set after my editor's seen it and figure out how much work it needs.
But giveaway tonight is 12/29 as of right now. Yes?
Yes, that should stick. It moved once because of pandemic-related nonsense at the print house, which is happening to a lot of writers right now. But once again, you got to roll with these things. And 12/29 should be it. Use your holiday gift cards.
Unrelated, I'm now accepting gift cards if anybody wants.
Yes. I'll say that too.
That is a great idea. Everyone needs more books all the time. Use your gift cards, use your Amazon credit, use whatever you need to use to get first from Unseen Fire. Oh, he's so cute. From Unseen Fire by Cass Morris, which is tremendous and such a journey. Then on 12/29, giveaway tonight, book 2 of the Oven Cycle series. I'm working to get the oven in there instead of 8. So.
Like I said, it's your book once you buy it. You can pronounce things however you want. I'm not going to come yell at you.
However I had it the first time is what it's going to be locked in as, by the way, for real people in real life as well. So that happens. Well, we've had just such a blast talking with you today, Cass. And it looks like we're all caught up with questions from our viewing audience. So we can call it a wrap. I think we will make sure to share all your social media on Twitter, especially. Cass is a great Twitter fan at Cass R. Morris. We'll also include in our Facebook community any other social media that you want to share. We'll do that. The the Twitter story prompts that Nano does. I have the tab open. The word sprints. Oh, so powerful. Yes. So we'll include that as well. And information about hashtag MSWL. It sounds like a really fun hashtag to follow because it means a manuscript wish list. You never know. Someone could ask for exactly
what you've written. Yeah.
Exactly what you've written. I mean, it worked for Cass. It can work for you too. Keep writing. We will see everyone who wants to join our Saturday Night Fever. And this is where I have to do a quick costume change to get a little more groovy. Get a little more groovy here. I can't believe I'm on the internet looking like this, but okay. Anyone who wants to join our Saturday Night Fever groovy disco themed write-in, we have moved that to Zoom. It will also be broadcast to YouTube. So if you're not a Zoom person, I get that. But if you have a costume, join us on Zoom because we're going to have cameras on. Celissa Franklin is co-hosting with me, and it is sure to be a groovy time. It'll be jiving. We're going to jive. Am I doing that right? I should probably just scene. Thank you so much, Cass. Thank you, everyone, for joining us online. We will see you soon to kick off our disco-themed write-in and hit that nano word count for the day.
Thank you so much for having me. Good luck, everyone. Happy writing.